Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are here today for the final event of a specific project, product and process integration to manufacture electric motors for the car industry. The project is called Inproves. My name is Giampiero Mastino from the Politecnico University of Milan. This is a project which was co-funded by Lombardy. This project was mentioned in a resolution by the Regional Council. The motion was tabled by Mr. Sala. And this resolution mentions our project as one of the key projects in the area for the creation of networking activities in Lombardy to create a knowledge hub about vehicle electrification. This project created a hub of companies and universities in Lombardy which focus on vehicle electrification. We play a very important role at European and global level. So this is just a short introduction, and I'd like to invite Mr. Bombassei, Brembo chairman, to the stage.
La regia mi dice che è tutto a posto? Sì. Quindi Ingegner Bombassei.
So, Mr. Bombassei, please come to the stage.
Prendere la parola. Grazie.
The floor is yours. Thank you. I can take off my mask and I am fully vaccinated and I comply with the social distancing, as it's just me on the stage. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kilometro Rosso. It's a pleasure and a relief to welcome our online guests who we can't see and our offline guests. There are many people here in this hall today. After several months of limitations which still persist, we can see the first tangible signals of the recovery and of a new era of relationships between people and companies. We are here to celebrate a special event. This is the end of an innovation project which was based on exchange of experiences among different players. These players are big-sized companies such as Brembo and Marelli, and then technical partners such as Mako Shark and Peri, and startups such as eNovia, UTP, MDQuadro and Vision. And there are universities as well, the Politecnico di University of Milan and the University of Bergamo. Lombardy Regional Council, as part of its 2014-2020 program, selected the idea we proposed for this project. And this project was funded by the Regional Council in Lombardy. Despite the operational issues because of the pandemic, we could pull it off, and the the result was achieved in January. We are here today to celebrate what we have done so far, and we are here to report on how the funds have been used. I'm referring to public, regional, European funds and the resources and funds made available by the participating companies. I am happy with what we have done based on open innovation and collaboration, and the result we achieved is great. This afternoon we have the opportunity to visit the assembly line, and you will see that this project is about a new family of products and technical solutions by Brembo, brake-by-wire. This is the future of the braking system, which replaces conventional hydraulic brakes with assisted electric actuation, of course, with software and sensors that will increase safety of the braking system. You know that the braking system is a key element in ensuring safety. So this is a new innovation. Our friends from Marelli focused on high-performance electric motors, but there's a transformation in progress in terms of electrification in relation to the different elements of the vehicle, just like, for instance, the braking system. And Brembo focused on braking systems as part of this project. We developed with our partners an innovative e-motor, and the product is industrialized. This process helped us to understand what to do in terms of design, performance, feasibility, and replicability of the production cycle. The assembly line I mentioned before focuses on a number of experiences that will be very useful in order to turn this project into serious production. Many companies and universities worked together as part of this project. This is a tangible sign that unity is key and collaboration is key to achieve results. So in our region, we can ensure high-level research activities, as our German friends do. Maybe we shouldn't complain that much about what doesn't work. Maybe we should focus on what we can actually do. If we do so, a result might be a project like Inproves. These projects are about innovation, services to mobility, and sustainability for the next future. In this next future, we'll comply with the ambitious targets set by the European Union, and we need governance to ensure that the industrial transition is right on track, and we are all committed to playing a key role to help this transition So there will be the opportunity of new jobs. This is one of the challenges we are supposed to tackle at national and regional level. We'll lose some jobs, of course, specifically in the automotive industry. This motor replaces an endothermic motor which is 10 times heavier and 10 times more labor intensive. So, as automotive experts, we ask ourselves questions about how quick transformations should take place. But from a social point of view, there are some questions to be asked. People will lose their jobs, and what shall they do? So, this is our duty as business owners and as politicians to create new job opportunities for those people who will lose their job. Training is key. The new challenge is training. So schools, universities, the regional council should commit to training in order to help people. So, in the next future, there's a risk related to industrial transition. We'll need to create new job opportunities. We'll need to create new technological processes and new products, just like the outcomes of the Inproves project. It's hard for me as an Italian to pronounce the word improves or improves. I'm not sure. Anyway, personally and on behalf of Brembo, I'd like to thank the Regional Council in Lombardy, the Lombardy cluster of mobility, and all the partners that worked together for 42 months. I'm sure that this success story will be replicated soon with the same results. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bombassei. I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Sala, Regional Councillor for Education, University, Research, Innovation and Simplification of the Regional Council in Lombardy.
Buongiorno a tutti. Al primo onorevole volevo non dirlo, al secondo ci ho pensato, al terzo no.
So, my name is Fabrizio Sala. I am the Regional Councillor for Education, Universities, Research, Innovation and Simplification in the Lombardy region. I'd like to thank Mr. Mastino. I'd like to welcome you all. I can't recognize all of you because you're all wearing masks. So what have we done? In 2018, when the specific section of the Regional Council was created, the sector of Education, Universities, Research, Innovation and Simplification, we consider the different funds that were available at national, European and regional level. And we asked many people to share ideas. We had created a plan at regional level for that. And all the different parties, we approved a plan that was worth €750 million. And then at the end of the day, we found €1 billion with public funds and private funds as well. So the 3-year plan was €1 billion worth. We considered several initiatives, agreements for research, development, innovation and technology transfer. We didn't want to set the lines, but we considered the best projects created by universities and companies, and our institution created the framework. So 29 agreements were entered into first, and then 33. There is something incredible that I always say in Lombardy, in Rome, in Brussels. With €100 million fund, we generated 1% GDP, because if you invest in research and development and in innovation, you can generate GDP. So 100 million, that's great. If I consider R&D costs in companies, it's usually 8-10%. So if I cover 50% of that cost, the leverage is 20. So out of 100 million, you can obtain 2 billion. This is a mechanism we are testing, and it's working. So 100 million euros were invested on the first 29 agreements, and then other agreements were entered into 33. This agreement includes a 7.2 million euro cost, and out of 100 million we selected 29 agreements. So this is not a call for project for thousands of people, but the benefits will be generated for thousands of people, because we funded this hub of companies and universities. We created jobs, connecting jobs, because Lombardy is about innovation, it's about R&D, and there are small companies that invent something. These are centers of excellence in Lombardy. This is our supply chain in Lombardy. This is why we are the second region as far as automotive is concerned. This is why we are so strong. As part of my professional journey, I had the opportunity to visit 43 countries, and I was impressed with Israel in terms of R&D because of a specific characteristic. Israel has the innovation authority. In Italy, authority means controls. It's harder to create the vaccine passport, the green card, because of privacy issues. In Israel, the innovation authority is an office where people present projects, and then the authority presents such projects to the government. But 85-90% of the results of innovation focuses on foreign countries. So there are no actual positive effects at national level, and it's very hard for us too in Italy and in Lombardy. We do have a supply chain that works. When a technology transfer works, then it has positive effects of the whole area. And in Lombardy, supply chains are essential. This is why we invest in supply chains. We invest in clusters. We do not invest in specific areas. I was in Brescia yesterday. Today I'm here in Bergamo. This is a choice we made at the very start. And this is a choice that translates into economic development. In Lombardy, it is better. It would be better to create a call of projects for thousands of people, but it is much more effective to focus on a specific cluster. For instance, we have 190 partners, we have so many young people who are involved in these projects. And the automotive industry is key for our economy. We invested in these agreements, but we invested in assets. We purchased a drive simulator, which is the most innovative and advanced in Europe. And there are already 150 days that were booked by companies to use these simulator. So this is a simulator that is used by universities and by companies. There's a crossover, a contamination between university know-how and company know-how. This is a winning project. It is essential for competitiveness. There are 1,000 companies and 90% of SMEs. This is why research and development is essential. Research and development is stimulated by big-sized companies and the market, but it concerns SMEs as well. We rank second in terms of number of employees in Europe for the automotive industry. Then it's about mechanics, electronics, plastics, and other industries. And we created the AI and smart mobility round table. We consider citizens' needs, we consider research and development, we consider institutions and companies as part of this round table. We wanted to create new jobs, we wanted to innovate innovation, we want to create wealth. And this is what we are going to do as part of our regional plan. We identified specific topics. We will finance specific projects related to research, and we create an ecosystem, and then it will be up to us to ensure the contamination, the crossover among different players, and we can do that by ensuring reforms as well. Despite bureaucracy, we'll all be connected through fiber. Why is it important to connect everyone? Because we needed to know where the best innovation is. because we wanted to invest in innovation, we need to locate the best ideas, and we can do that only if we are all connected. There are great talents who are young talents, and we need to lay the foundations so that they can thrive, so that they can make the most of their ideas. And this is why it is important to fund startups. This is why it is important to create incubators and to start calls for projects. We need to ensure that young talents have the tools to implement their ideas. Young people are our main assets in Lombardy. 29 projects as this project, 29 agreements about research, development, innovation and technological transfer. Then 33 new projects, and 50% of these projects are unique. These projects are unprecedented. Even if Chicago will build the biggest 3D printer worldwide, our printer will not be as big as theirs, but it will be unique. So I think we set the right objectives. We should be proud. We should be proud. We can tell the world about the unique and winning projects in Lombardy. I say that every single time I travel abroad. Sometimes I meet people who say, oh, in that country everything is different. We can do so many things. And I say, we can do so many things in Italy as well. But commitment is key. And institutions, universities and companies are essential from this point of view. As the Tribal Helix Association said, and we got an award from this association. We are the first region worldwide in terms of innovation. This is what our talents can do. We bought a startup couple of years ago as regional council. We asked these startups to find an innovative digital tool to communicate with stakeholders. We created the Open Innovation Portal in the Lombardy region. It is an Amazon-style portal. You can check out analytics. We process such analytics and we patented a predictive algorithm. We enter our investment policies and we know how effective they can be. This is a patented innovation. This is unique, and this invention got the first prize in Dubai. Thanks to whom? Thanks to those young talents of that startup. We found out and they created something unique worldwide, and this tool will be replicated by the European Union. How did we do that? Because we invested in talents, and new services will be rolled out in the next months for companies. We made a test on a municipality with a call for projects. So there will be a new call for projects soon. This call for projects is for citizens. Citizens will have their own digital identity, and our system will find information, certifications and data that these citizens need to access specific facilities, such as schools or nurseries. So this system is connected with different public bodies and government agencies. So this system is blockchain-based, and this is the same system we would use for the vaccine passport. This is exactly the same systems, but as I told you before, there are some privacy-related issues. This is what happens in our country for red tape. This system I mentioned will decrease costs for companies and will know what companies actually need. Thanks to the new algorithm I mentioned, we can know what the effectiveness of our investment policies will be. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations. We are confident that we invested in the right supply chain. This project will be successful, and please provide us with feedback about anything. As Mr. Bombassé said, there's a topic which is very important: jobs and training. We are considering some projects, but I'll have the opportunity to mention these projects in the post-pandemic era. There are so many public investments to make, so we should seize the day. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sala, for your speech. Thank you for what you said about our project. Our project ranked first among the 29 projects you mentioned. I'd like to invite some guests to the stage. Mr. Vavasori, Brembo Institutional Relations Officer, Mr. Marco Stella, Klepa Vice President, Mr. Saverio Gabo Ardi, President of the Mobility Cluster in Lombardy. It is important to start this round table by talking about this project and innovation. So my personal memory. I remember a representative from Brembo that came to the Lombardy cluster. They asked me how to create a consortium for this call-off project. We had several partners available. We contacted a company based in Lombardy, but we couldn't find an agreement. Then Marelli was interested in electrification, so we got together. We involved many people, like Mr. Camozzi, the deus ex machina of the project, Professor Di Gerlando. He's our expert of e-cars. He supported our activities. So we brainstormed. We organized a brainstorming meeting. Then Professor Rigatini, Professor Strada gave a key contribution. So after this brainstorming meeting, the project was created. We drafted the plan in 1 week, and we were awarded the grant by the Regional Council of Lombardy. What are the factors? Ideas, people, and private capital and public funds. After this short introduction, I'd like to remind you how this project was structured. We'll focus on the key elements of this project. So, I'd like to ask our guests what about electrification? What about e-cars? What are the challenges in terms of market? What are the global challenges? I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Vavasori and to Mr. Stella, who have experience in Europe. So what's next after Inproves, Inproves? This event marks the end of our project, but this event is a starting point too, because we need to implement the outcomes of our research. I think that the key of this successful story is networking. I have been working on projects that have been funded since 2012. As Brembo, this project was essential. Innovation costs money. Evolutive innovation is our daily bread. When there's breakthrough innovation, things change. For instance, as for electrification and new forms of mobility, in this case, investments are higher. And then networking is essential. We've spent 8-9 years on projects, and networking is key for us as Brembo, because we could open our doors to external partners. We integrated new knowledge and new skills. We worked with academia, with universities, and we found out that we needed new skills and new knowledge, and that is possible only through networking. We involved our own suppliers too. Resins, tires, plastics. These are the different industries we involved. Then the catalyst is public funds. So this is why we wanted to work as a network. Mr. Bombassei said it. We should focus on what works more and better. And we, as companies, as public institution, we should work together. We should build networks. This is the only way to ensure that SMEs can play a key role in innovation. We can ensure that our ecosystem is winning in Europe and all over the world. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. You give us food for thought. Mr. Bombassei said we should start from what we can do, and we should do it better. Then training is key. People are key. Innovation is key, and we should focus on young people and young talents. Apprenticeships are very important as well. As for what Mr. Sala said, he mentioned supply chains, and our cluster was created based on a supply chain. A supply chain is essential to understand the future of markets and businesses. Supply chain is key to create innovation. And supply chain includes logistics as well. Now, supply chain includes process and product development. This is something new. We involved all suppliers, first-tier suppliers and other suppliers as well. It's a new culture. Sometimes we are just actors, and sometimes we are directors as part of a cluster, and this is very important. This is what cluster is all about. What is a cluster? A cluster is about projects. Mr. Vavasori mentioned the key elements of a successful project. What does a cluster do in electrification? We have a document, the specifications for electrification. We called these specifications the challenges for electrification in Lombardy. So the regional council specified the lines of this project. And then we have different sheets in these documents about electrification. But there is one key element. We should use the know-how we have to create high-performance cars, heavyweight cars with less components. Lightweight cars with less components. So 0.7 is the weight consumption ratio. So if we reduce the weight of a car, we can reduce fuel consumption by 35%. We could, for instance, create a Giulietta in carbon fiber. Then there's a second element. I created a map in December about risks and opportunities. I asked my partners, how many projects are you involved in the electrification sector? And, for instance, different projects in Audi with the reduction of components. So with electrification, some jobs might be lost, but through new skills we can create new jobs. This is what we did. Then the future of drive systems, of traction system, is not only about electrification, it is about methane, biomethane and hydrogen. So there will be different power supplies, and then the total cost of ownership will be key. We have to consider the man-hours that are needed for the production of a specific engine or a specific motor. Then there will be the development of endothermal motors. So new technologies are essential. First of all, I'd like to say something about this venue, Kilometro Rosso. we're all here. I'm so happy that we are here in Bergamo at the Kilometro Rosso. Rosso means red in Italian. In Italy, we have red zones because of the pandemics, but red here means a vision, an investment, especially by Mr. Bombassei. Brembo has its headquarters here at Kilometro Rosso, and private investments by companies were key for this project. And then I'd like to say something about CLEPA, because you might not be familiar with these European Association of car manufacturers and car component manufacturers specifically. This is an association that has its headquarters in Brussels. This association works with EU institutions and bodies. We focus on new legislation and we focus on all topics related to our industry. We focus on R&D activities too. We focus on innovation, and our association represents European countries with an important automotive industry, and we represent some corporate members, including Brembo and Marelli. Brembo and Marelli are the most important European companies in the car components manufacturing industry. I appreciated this project a lot. This initiative is about research and innovation, and this is about breakthrough innovation. It changes an element of the paradigm for all companies that are involved. This kind of project is essential for our industry, specifically in this period, because we have so many important challenges to tackle. Mr. Bombassei and Mr. Sala mentioned very important topics. This project represents a successful story. From many points of view. I am the CEO of a car component manufacturing company based in Marelli. Our company is not a big-sized company, so this project is very important because it involved both a big-sized company, large-sized company, and small-sized companies. And it's not always easy for companies to work together, especially with startups and inventors. So this is why this project is so important. We could create value based on this cooperation. So this project is about open innovation, which is essential to speed up innovation. And this project is also about making the most of the potential of open innovation. And this project is a successful story from this point of view, because large-sized company and small-sized company could work together to create value based on innovation and cooperation. That's another topic I like to mention, the cooperation with the universities, institutions too. And for Italy, this kind of collaboration is essential. The automotive industry is one of the most important industries in Italy and in Europe. It creates jobs, it creates GDP. And the automotive industry is going through a quick transition. So many things are happening so quickly. This transition has important implications in terms of jobs. So, for us, it is very important to ensure that this transition is not about whatever it takes. This transition should be about jobs as well. We shouldn't forget about people. This is why the cooperation among companies, institutions at university is essential. Thank you. We still have time for a quick question. What is the role of Lombardy in vehicle electrification? The regional platform about sustainable mobility is now a national platform, Moto Valley. Where does it end? Does it end in Piacenza, or does it extend to the whole Lombardy area? This should be a national challenge. So this is the question I like to ask you. If I may, the concept of supply chain is essential for the whole country. We have districts all over the country, including the south. 80% of a vehicle is about car components, and there are companies manufacturing car components all over Italy. So this is why the supply chain is essential. The supply chain already exists. It should be improved, it should be strengthened. And what could Lombardy do? What could the regional council do? I think that the regional council should focus on e-mobility. We should implement e-mobility related technologies more effectively. We should create more synergies among different players, and we should experiment on e-mobility, connected cars, driverless cars. So we should work on vehicles, we should work on infrastructure, we should create an ecosystem that involves new skills, so that people might understand how great these technological innovations are. E-mobility is essential, and e-mobility involves many vehicles. We should create skills and products at worldwide level. I totally agree with Roberta. I like to remind you that there are different round tables that were created by the regional council in Lombardy, because we do believe in the automotive industry, and this specific area of the of e-mobility is essential in terms of innovation is all over Italy. I'd like to mention the fact that 75% of Italian car components are manufactured in Piedmont, Lombardy, Emilia-Romagna, and then Tuscany. So the automotive industry does not end at Piacenza. We should get together, we should put together different best practices. And Modena, the Modena area is a role model for us. They could get together different universities, and Inproves, this project, is the example of cooperation between two universities. I'd like to mention something else. There's a dual challenge here. Competitiveness in both old technologies, conventional technologies, and new technologies. We do need public funds, but there are not many public funds for cars. There are public funds for buses, for instance. So we should pay attention to this element. All kinds of mobility should be involved, so strategic supply chains are key. We should consider all kinds of mobility. Then market demand. In Europe and in Italy, orders increase, but then sales decrease. Why is that? So more and more orders, but fewer sales. So market demand is important, and cleaner vehicles are important to reduce emissions. I'd like to thank our guests. You mentioned Moto Valley. This is a brand that my region created. As there are no politicians from Emilia-Romagna, Moto Valley could extend from Modena to Bologna to Imola or to Parma or Reggio Emilia. It depends on who you speak to. Car components are manufactured in different districts in Italy, and our car component manufacturing industry is very important at European level. In the next 2-3 years, we have to make extra efforts. We have to go the extra mile to strengthen our industry, our supply chain. And in order to do that, we need to be united at national level. We shouldn't focus on borders between regions, as we have traditionally done. This is why networking is essential, as the cooperation with universities is. We do have examples of such cooperation. and we should focus on the right assets to invest in. We need to seize new opportunities. Hydrogen was mentioned. This technology will be industrialized over time for the mobility business, and we can start working on that right away. But in order to do so, we need to select the right projects, just like the Regional Council did when they selected these projects as part of the call for projects. I'd like to thank our guests, our panelists, and I'd like to move to the technical section of this conference. So the project will be presented, how it is structured, and what was done. So I'd like to invite the following people to the stage. Mr. Camozzi, he's an engineer. I already mentioned him when I talked about the period when we drafted the project. He coordinated us, he managed timing perfectly, and we're here because of him. Please, Mr. Camozzi, you've got the floor. Thank you, Giampiero. We'll have the opportunity to listen to the different partners of this project. I will not focus on how important a synergy is in this case, because Mr. Bombassei and Mr. Sala mentioned it. For Brembo, it was important to involve SMEs and universities on research-related topics. One of the most important topics for us was electric motors with the production process. Another topic is very important, process digitalization, Industry 4.0. How did we do that? We decided to put together process and product integration in terms of concurrent engineering. So we set up interdisciplinary teams, including engineering, process development, experimental research. So we could develop a product that is conceived based on the ideal technical feature for manufacturing. It is design for excellence, so we focus on all the different design elements, design for quality, for manufacturing, for reliability, and so on and so forth. And this is the added value of this project. Brembo focused on the development of e-motors for braking systems, because the brake-by-wire is the braking system for the future. It is a distributed system where any corner has a braking actuator. On any corner there's an e-motor, and in order to create this product effectively, the e-motor technology is essential. I'm not referring to the brushless technology because it has existed for years, but how could we create a compact, powerful element that perfectly integrates into the braking system components? And then we focused on manufacturing flexibility as well. The e-motor layout is the same for two different sizes. For instance, the one in the left hand corner, the electro pump, and the one on the right hand side, which is integrated in the brake caliper. And this is why we focused on motor flexibility. So this is the second element we focused on as part of the Inproves project. As I said before, process and product integration was our main focus. In 3 years, we have involved many teams, different engineers, and all the different engineers worked together. And they worked together, a supply chain of technology and car manufacturers, because we wanted to focus on the best features to create this motor. So we wanted to create a number of components with different experimental tests. We could achieve our results without too many prototype loops. So we achieved a final product which passed all the different validation tests we had set. On top of that, as output of this project, Brembo installed a pilot line. You will have the opportunity to see this pilot line later on. So this pilot line was installed. It includes different assembly technologies, which are very, very interesting, and it makes it possible to manufacture prototypes of these two different sized motors. This line is based on the Industry 4.0 criteria, especially process digitalizations. This line collects data, it processes them, it sends them to servers, which means that all components are tracked and we can identify the specificities of each manufacturing stage from the beginning up to the end-of-line test that we developed with MDQuadro. Size controls are carried out too. So this is the core of the Inproves development that was implemented by Brembo and its partners. I'm going to give the floor to Mr. Di Gerlando, professor from the Politecnico di University of Milan. He was in charge of the development processes of the e-motor. His contribution was about university research, and I'd like to thank our young talents. All our partners are young researchers, Brembo people, our partners people. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Camozzi. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see in the picture, the space for the motor is small. This condition is a size-related constraint. This is why performances and parameters had to be optimized based on the space available. Which elements did we focus on? We carried out an analysis and a comparison among different rotor technologies. Then a parameter sensitivity analysis was carried out based on size and geometry in relation to the configuration which was chosen. After that, we identified constraints and we identified required performances. And then at the end, we carried out electromagnetic, thermal and mechanical simulations in order to optimize the projects. Here you see some of the rotor configurations that we analyzed to identify the best design for the rotor. The first slide on the left-hand side, you see the concentrated coils starter. Then right-hand side, you see the magnets based on Hallbach disposition, then IPM disposition in the bottom, then IPM stands for internal permanent magnet, then the spoke layout, and then after performance were considered, the bread loaf layout with radial magnets. This was the final layout which was chosen. Which kind of preliminary sensitivity analysis did we carry out? We considered different design and manufacturing related aspects in terms of tolerances and sensitivities, air gaps, PM curvature, radial PM width, stack axial length, PM side angle, presence of specific conditions in relation to static and dynamic eccentricity to consider influence on performances, a potential PM peripheral displacement, the PM remanence value BR, and the PM magnetization angle. So these are the different parameters we considered because performances depended on them. Then the multi-objective optimization goals, torque and efficiency maximization, mass and inertia minimization. I'm referring to the motor mass and energy efficiency. The approach which was adopted is a multi-physics approach. There's an electromagnetic analysis that is based on FEM simulations, then a thermal analysis to assess the distribution of temperatures, and then a structural analysis too, as far as the components' stress levels are concerned, specifically as far as rotors are concerned. What is the optimization sequence? So the identification of parameterized geometry. Specifically, there are 15 size variables that we considered, both in relation to rotors and in relation to starters. Then the thickness of the magnets, the magnetic arc, teeth, thickness, and so on and so forth. Then a first survey, first analysis was carried out through simulations based on calculation tools. After that, we created a number of potential options for the project parameters, and we identified a number of feasible solutions that were considered optimal. As you can see, this is the electromagnetic simulation, the thermal network, and here you can see a detail of the neural network approach, which speeds up simulations and increases the number of choices. And then we identified a Pareto optimal from set, the red dots. These solutions are feasible and optimal, but among these solutions, some key objectives might be identified, as in torque optimization, inertia decrease, and loss decrease. These are the three magenta squares here. Thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. Rigatini to the floor. He's a professor, University of Bergamo, and he was in charge of the manufacturing side of the e-motor. We were in charge of the process side of the project that allows for the motor manufacturing. As part of this project, the main objective was designing a manufacturing process in line with the constraints and needs of the automotive industry. The product is transversal. It includes both mechanical and electrical components. So an interdisciplinary team was set up. As you can see in this slide, we present the activities related to the process analysis for the motor manufacturing. This analysis was very detailed in order to analyze all the different issues in manufacturing the motor. We used the typical techniques of the automotive industry. For instance, the process failure modes and effect analysis. More than 900 functions were analyzed in relation to the motor assembly. And we identified, as part of this initial stage for the line, you will see 2,000 potential failures and the possible solutions that might be implemented in the event of failures. This stage focused on a technology analysis as well, because the motor should be manufactured based on specific technologies. So we analyzed the main technologies that allow for the manufacturing of the motor. For instance, welding, magnetization. These are the most important activities. And based on that, we could analyze the different potential technological issues. This activity was carried out in cooperation with Brembo, and together with Brembo, on a continuous basis, we could fine-tune the different elements of the product. At the end of this activity, where we worked with our partners, we developed interactions with suppliers for the different components, and then at the end an assessment was made in terms of the interaction of the different operators with the plant. So this is a semi-automatic line. So we consider all the different working conditions of operators. We assessed the different buffers which are necessary in this case, and this installation is effective and it is in line with the requirements of the call for projects. This is it. It is just a summary of what we did. Thank you, Paolo. Congratulations. I'm going to invite Mr. Oldani from MDQuadro to the floor for his presentation. Floor is yours. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alberto Oldani from MDQuadro. We focus on designing and manufacturing of mechatronic devices. Our headquarters are here at Kilometro Rosso. Our contribution as part of the project was as follows. We focused on two topics. The first topic is digitalization of the process of the motor assembly line. We developed the hardware and software for data collection coming from the whole production line, including all its stations. All its stations are connected to a central supervisor, and it is possible to collect all data coming from these stations as part of the assembly line. These data are collected for each motor. This means that for each motor, we know what the process parameters were for the production of that specific motor. So this means that we have two pieces of information. First of all, the status of the line, how many motors were manufactured for each type, how many motors are compliant with requirements and how many are not compliant. This kind of information is collected by an integrator system that processes the data, and then these data are displayed by a dashboard which collects all of the different parameters that I mentioned. The second activity we carried out concerned designing and manufacturing the end-of-line station. All motors manufactured in the assembly line are tested at the end of the line in order to assess that these motors are compliant with the specific production parameters. So in this station, motors are assembled and a number of tests is carried out, including electrical, mechanical and performance tests in order to verify that each motor complies with the project parameters. The outcome of this station is dual compliant and non-compliant motors. If motors are non-compliant, then a motor might be discarded or it is reintroduced in the assembly line. This station was designed, manufactured by MDQuadro here at Kilometro Rosso. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to give the floor to Francesco Simoni from UTPVision. There's the owner of UTPVision and the chairman, Mr. Regazzoni. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank those that financed the partners, and I'd like to thank Mr. Mastino, because we are a small company and we were given the opportunity to work with universities and large-sized companies. This cooperation made it possible for us to introduce our technology into this project and to cooperate with these companies effectively to achieve our goal. I am so satisfied with it. We work in the vision system business. We created two machines for quality control, one for the tooth, one for the startle, and one for the startle stator plus bus bar assembly. These machines are part of the assembly line. These machines make it possible to control and measure the components of the motor. Thank you. Mr. Ragazzoni, just a couple of words, but he went straight to the facts. Great. Our next speaker is by Federico Moro from eNovia. eNovia was in charge of the electronical section of the system. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Federico Moro from eNovia. We're based in Milan. As part of the Inproves project, we were in charge of two parts. One is related to the project and it was already described. The second one about product development. As part of the product development, we were in charge of developing an innovative solution based on a magnetic sensor that replaces conventional solutions that are used today as state-of-the-art. So we developed a test bench. We assessed the potential improvement in terms of performance for the solution, and then together with the different partners of the project, including Brembo, we validated the solution. The outcomes were very good in terms of the current, ripple current, and in terms of the angular resolution. With this solution, we can check the motor more effectively, the motor that triggers the caliper, and then in terms of effectiveness, we could validate the solution. The solution improves the state of the art. Thank you. Thank you, Federico. Thank you, eNovia. eNovia is a partner of another project, IPA, in terms of vehicle electrification. I'm going to ask Mr. De Filippi from Marelli to join me. Marelli is the other pillar for the Inproves project. Thank you. So this is another device which was developed as part of the Inproves project. It's a brushless PMM motor, and it is a racing car motor for the Formula E Championship, where efficiency maximization is key. For this motor, the key element we focus on is the efficiency, the system efficiency, including electric, thermal and mechanic efficiency. So we had to choose specific materials and we had to design our system in an optimal way. So How did we tackle this project? Well, efficiency is very important for a racing car. As part of the Formula E Championship, the duration of the race is the same, the energy at the beginning is the same, so all that matters is performance. We considered the Hong Kong Grand Prix, and as you can see, just 1% efficiency means seconds. This means positions. So this is why efficiency is very important. We consider one lap here. So efficiency that was obtained through unconventional materials, for instance, composites, and then cooling systems and heat dissipation, so that the size can be compact. So this engine only 25 kilos and 250 kilowatts. I'm going to give the floor to the other partners. Thank you, Riccardo. Just a couple of words about the contribution of the Politecnico University of Milan. What did we do? We focused on artificial intelligence to define the specific features of the motors, specifically the Marelli motor. We used multi-physics related criteria which were mentioned before. As part of this project, we got together university professors, which is not something that should be taken for granted. And I found a friend, a colleague, Professor Di Gerlando. He's an electrical engineer. I am a mechanical engineer. And we found out that we need the skills of both kinds of engineers to create an e-motor. And we made a miracle. We got together and we got on so well, even if we're both professors. So we used advanced AI criteria, and we created a new curriculum at the Politecnico University in Milan. And we have already had the opportunity to collaborate with many international companies. I'm referring to our university department. We have been working with 3 companies. So the Inproves project has already tangible fallouts. We are professors, so we had to draft some papers. Specifically, we focused on all thermofluid dynamics related issues of electric motors, and thermofluid dynamics related elements are essential for electric motors too. I'm not going to focus on specific details in relation to thermofluid dynamics. What can you see here? You can see a section of the Marelli motor, and inside we created a fan with air intake and outtake in order to cool the bottom of the permanent magnets that need to be cooled to be effective. This design is original, and it was possible because of a specific lightweight design of motor shields by Mako Shark. So I'd like to give the floor to the Mako Shark representatives. Martina Bonomelli from Mako Shark. they were in charge of the shields that allow for this important cooling airflow. Martina? I'd like to seize this opportunity to thank all those who made it possible for Mako Shark to be part of this project. It is so important for us to see our logo next to larger size companies. We are proud of that. We have been working for more than 30 years in the composite business. We like challenges, and for us, tackling these challenges with our partners was so important and so exciting. Our main goal was obtaining high-performance, light-weighted components, and this is what we had to tackle. We studied different materials, so these components are not made of one single material. So there are different materials, unidirectional and bidirectional materials too. And we decided to choose different materials in order to optimize the product as part of the series production, and this is what Mako Shark did. Thank you, Martina. Then Federico Bonomelli is the chief engineer. Then our last speaker is Riccardo Peri from Peri, and they were in charge of the winding process for the Marelli motor. I'd like to thank all those that made it possible for my company to be part of this project. This is quite an important project for an SME like ours. We had opportunity to work with universities, and it's not that easy for us to access universities. We're a SME, even if we have always worked with large-sized companies. So we have been working in the winding business since the 60s. We have been working with Marelli for years for the production of windings for MotoGP bikes and for Formula One cars and Formula E cars too. As for the winding of this motor, the starting point was the winding that we already created for Marelli. It's a two-layer winding on the perimeter of the stator, and we created another winding that was studied by Professor Di Gerlando with two layers. So the first one was 4 layers, the second one is 2 layers. And the outcomes were great, better than the kind of winding we used to create. We created 2 prototypes. It was a sort of craftsman job compared to what we usually do. You can see the pictures of all the different stages. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, now the floor is yours. So, it is question time. The different partners are available for any questions. There's a chat room of the webinar, or there are people here in this room. Any questions? I like to break the ice by asking a question myself. The question is for Mr. Bombassei, Brembo chairman. So, what about this event? What about this best practice event that put Lombardy in the forefront of the vehicle electrification business? 4 years ago, we were here, we talked about e-cars, and now universities, large-sized companies, and SMEs showed that we can do something tangible here in Lombardy. We presented, 2 years ago, we presented an extract of the Inproves project at the Detroit Convention. We highlighted how innovative this project is, and we highlighted how original this project is. And our American colleagues were worried because they told us that our project was just a celebration of what we were doing. This means that our project works, because based on literature and based on experience, e-motors that are designed based on multiphysics simulations and artificial intelligence, e-motors designed based on a process and product integration are unprecedented. So this is the challenge we tackled, and it is very important for us. Brembo has been working on this project for years. I have been provided with information as years went by, and now I can see the final outcome. So this event is essential to understand the final outcome, the final product of the project. So thanks for doing that. I am a mechanical engineer. I'm an electrical engineer. Sorry, I'm a mechanical engineer, so this is my point of view. I'd like to say something based on your question. This is an example, this project is an example of cooperation. If you are as old as I am, you know how important cooperation is, especially at local level. This is what we have done here at Kilometro Rosso. We cooperate with other companies. Here at Kilometro Rosso, there are 60 companies coming from different industries, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and the final outcome of this cooperation is astonishing. It goes beyond the technical sum of the different skills. So this is what we should make the most of. It's about crossover. It's about putting together different kinds of knowledge the final outcome is always astonishing. Then we could get together companies mainly based in Lombardy, and we could achieve great results. And some Americans, as you said, were quite jealous. But what should we do now? We should go the extra mile. The actual challenge in the future is as follows: getting people together, getting companies together from the same area, from the same region, but this is not enough, because the actual challenge is a global one. So we shouldn't neglect China, of course. That is increasingly more important in the automotive, in the automotive industry, and then the United States, whose market has always been important in the automotive industry. So when we compete with foreign countries, we compete with China and the United States. And in this case, we shouldn't just focus on local areas, on regional areas, on national areas. We should compete as Europe. Europe should compete with these two worldwide giants. This is what I mean when I say we should go the extra mile. We should be more and more European. I wish we could replicate this experience with a Danish company, a German company, an Austrian company, together with Italian companies, because cooperation at European level ensures added value. This is much more than the technical sum of the different kinds of know-how and knowledge from the different partners. This is why we should think bigger. There's something else I'd like to share with you. This project shows that we, Italia, can do great things when we get together, when we work together. We've got all that it takes to be competitive and to achieve results. We should stop fighting. We should stop criticizing each other. We should work together, because we do have what it takes. And I'm sure that these excellent results we are celebrating today can be replicated in the future. And we can do that if we adopt this common approach. This is what I'd like to share with you. Thank you. Any other questions? Any comments? Any remarks? Of course, the speakers are here, the people who developed this project. So if you've got any questions, no? There are no questions from the webinar chat box. Great. I mean, that's okay. As there are no questions, I'd like to wrap up. What's the lesson learned here? I'd like to summarize it as follows. The regional area is fertile. This project is as important and as ambitious as a European project. We involved to universities, SMEs, and large-sized companies. Today we celebrated the end of the project, but the beginning of an adventure for Brembo and Marelli. And then we know how important people are, how important young talents are. I feel young inside. We collaborated, we worked together, we set up a winning team. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of this event, we have an official resolution of the Regional Council of Lombardy that praised our work. The supply chain-based approach is key. This is not just a result for a region, this is a result for the whole country. And I'd like to give you some homework, as I am a professor. Please talk to your friends and your colleagues. Tell them how important technical work is to improve our society. This project was the result of technical work, of collaboration-based work, and the civil society should be made aware of that, because the benefits of such project will be made available to the civil society. So new projects may be implemented. There should be social awareness of how important this kind of work is. This is what makes the difference between an advanced society and a less advanced society. I'd like to thank you all for being here with us today, and we'll talk again, and maybe we'll see each other again as part of a new project funded by the EU. Thank you.